John 1:1 is extremely important to the witnesses in that
by 1973, Philip Harner had written a paper that created a new category for preverbal predicate and anarthrous predicate nouns. And that wasn't something that had existed up until that point. And he did so to try to make a case for a qualitative idea or sense for the John 1:1c, theos at John 1:1c. What the problem was is that it had long been recognized that if theos at John 1:1c was definite, there was a conflating of identity, and so this was difficult for Orthodox Trinitarian theology. Jesus couldn't be the God. The Father wasn't the God. The Son wasn't the God. The Holy Spirit wasn't the God. They are all together God. So to conflate the Word with the God in identity which smacks of Sabellianism or modalism, where God presents himself in different modes or forms, depending on the need. So this was a difficulty for Orthodox Trinitarianism. And Moffat and Goodspeed both translate John 1:1c as divine, and the word was divine. What divine means exactly, they didn't extrapolate. So until 1973, there wasn't really a linguistic basis for this idea. You look in the old Greek grammars, and there's just nothing. You're not going to find any category. The only categories for the anarthrous theos or for an anarthrous predicate nominative is that it's either signaling that the noun belongs to a class, or that it's definite, though anarthrous, without the article. So those are two possibilities. So yes, so we've got three possibilities in John 1:1c, that it's definite, meaning the God, and then the word shares the identity of the God, the Father, making them the same, or it's indefinite, and the word is a divine being, a God, in a council of gods. And I say a council because early Jewish monotheism includes a divine council. See Dr. Michael Heiser's work on this, on the unseen realm, and his paper on Psalm 82. Or qualitative, that specifically what John was saying is that the word was divine. The New World Translation, in its comments on John 1:1c, picked up on Harner's paper later in the 84 edition of the New World Translation, and they kind of conflate the idea of indefinite and qualitative. When you read that, it's a bit confusing. They're almost making them the same thing. Later, as this discussion progressed, there a clear distinction between indefinite and qualitative nouns was drawn. So a qualitative noun would be that almost like an adjective, and the word was divine. So those are the three options, and the last would end this qualitative is not. I'm still struggling to see that it has a validity. There's even semantic overlap. When you talk about something that's divine, that signals that it is a God. So, and in the class of gods, or if you're in the class of gods, then you have the qualities of being divine. So there's a circularity, and that's where some of this difficulty comes into play. Many adduce John 20:28, where where Thomas says to Jesus, "O Theos mu ke o Kyrios mu, my Lord and my God," or "O Kyrios mu ke o Theos mu," trying to say that Jesus was God. But we can't forget that John 1:18 says, no one has seen God at any time. And then it goes on to say that it's the only begotten God who has exegeted him, that Jesus, the only begotten God or only begotten Son, there's a variant there, has exegeted him, literally, exegesata, has explained him. So it's Jesus who explains God, and this also harkens back to John 14:8 and 9, where Philip says, "Show us the Lord, and it'll be enough. Show us the Father, and it'll be enough for us." And then Jesus said, "Have I not been with you men so much time, and you have not known me?" So here's this representative agency being employed. Jesus is saying, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, because he's God's representative. And this harkens back then to the angel of Yahweh, the angel of Jehovah, throughout the Old Testament, specifically in Genesis and Exodus, who represents God, because God is transcendent. You get this idea that God is transcendent and is removed from the universe, is greater than the universe. And that's why John is using the word logos. He's signaling that Jesus was this logos, this intermediary figure who created for God, that was generated from God and then brought everything else into existence, brought the cosmos into existence. So this is John's view. He's placing in the prologue, he's placing the Logos, Jesus, in time and space as being before the beginning of the cosmos and with the one who is called the God. So those are the three possibilities. Each has their own theological implications, but the indefinite reading, a God, is the one that seems to be what's following John's theology.